The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to today's role play session with your host, James McDonald.
Well, thank you very much, Andrea, and I'd like to start by welcoming our participants to our role play session here today. Now remember, today we are going to discuss the universal callback script primarily. So anything related to lead follow-up, lead conversion is our topic of discussion here. But really what we want to do is get really good at communicating the universal callback script. As Craig likes to say, we are paid proportionally to the quality of words that come out of our mouth. And that doesn't just pertain to face-to-face. There is no face-to-face if we're not good with the words that come out of our mouth over the phone. So being really good at communicating over the phone is absolutely critical if we're going to have the opportunity to be really good face-to-face. And I know I'm preaching to the converted here as far as that goes, because that's why you're here. But there is a learning curve, and what you'll find is that you can always refine your skills, and it really is a skill in terms of your ability to communicate over the phone. This is what I wanted to touch on before we got started, just kind of get the juices flowing a little bit here. One of the signs that you've reached mastery level with the universal callback script is when you're thinking about the likely personality type of the prospect on the other end of the line. In other words, when you first start using the system and you first start with the universal callback script, you're not really tuned into things like that. As a matter of fact, your real primary concern is, what do I say next? And you're looking at your script and you're saying, okay, what do I say next? And really what happens is you're not even really listening to the answers that the prospects are giving you. And that's very, very common is it's difficult to hear what the prospect is saying when all you're concerned with is what you're going to say next. So the prospect's conking you over the head with a mallet, trying to share with you their motivation, and you're not hearing it, you're not getting it, because your focus is on what you're going to say. Now we move in to a little bit more competence with the universal script, where we're confident in what we're going to say next. We've essentially memorized and internalized the questions that we're going to ask, the offer we're going to make, et cetera, et cetera. So now all of a sudden, a world is opened up to us, because now we're actually hearing what the prospect is saying. We're actually hearing the little things the prospect is saying that are helping us determine their timing and motivation. And that is one of those real turning point moments in your advancement in the system, and specifically with the universal script. That moment when you're not concerned about what you're going to say next. Your focus is on listening to what the prospect is telling you. And it doesn't happen immediately, but a lot of you, I'd probably guess to say most of you right now are at that point where you know exactly what you're going to say. You know how the script works. You're listening to what the prospect is telling you. So what's beyond that? What is beyond listening to the timing and motivation of the prospect? You know what you're going to say. You know how the script works. You're saying the same thing over and over again. So you get really good at doing the same thing over and over and over again, because you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. Here's the next step. And the next step is, what you're going to find is you're going to notice that when the prospect answers the phone and you first start to converse with the prospect, what you're doing is you're trying to figure out the likely personality type of your prospect. And it can be very, very subtle, because we don't have the benefit of body language. We don't have the benefit of, kind of looking around, somebody's home and getting an idea that way. We are going to make small talk. We're going to base this solely out of the way the prospect speaks and what they say. And it's extremely helpful, because if a prospect is, loud, to the point, very direct, almost rude, in the beginning when you're first starting this, you would consider them to be rude. That's a rude prospect. Probably somebody that I really don't want to do business with if they're rude. But the truth is this: what if they aren't rude? What if they're a high D-type personality? They're not being rude. They're just very to the point, frank people. And they're not afraid to tell you what their true motivation and timing is. The benefit of the high D is they don't have to sugarcoat anything. The downside is we can sometimes mistake their very frank to the point approach with rudeness, and we can then mistake that for lack of motivation, but that's not true at all. If we get a prospect on the phone who's extremely friendly, then our brain tells us, okay, this is probably a high I type personality. So I know that a high type personality really craves to be liked, and they like friendliness. So you can play that up a little bit. You know that you're talking to somebody that's easy to converse with. So you can really make the questions very conversational, and you know that the high I personality thrives with that. They're not afraid to talk. They love it. But don't confuse friendliness with motivation. The reason they're motivated is very likely because they asked for real estate information and gave up their anonymity to do it. But over the phone, we need to be able to sort of identify where they're at in terms of their timing and just how motivated and sincere are we talking here. What about something like this? The detail by which the prospect filled out the information on your website, or the detail that they left on your hotline, would that give you some insight, maybe some insight into their possible personality type? If somebody went on your website and they were extremely detailed in describing their property and the specifics of what it was they were looking for, or details on their property, you might say, well, that's likely the behavior of a C-type personality, for example. So when you call this prospect back, you're speaking with someone who's extremely detailed. And you can really play that up in your communication using the universal callback script. These things are all extremely helpful if you become really good. But again, there is a learning curve here. We start by reading the script. And when you're reading the script, you're not listening to what the prospect is saying. Eventually, you memorize and internalize the script well enough that you know exactly what you're going to say. So now you're actually listening to the answer of the prospect. Then we get to the point beyond that where we're not just listening to the prospect, but what we're doing is we're, even subconsciously, we're identifying the likely personality type of the prospect. So we know what they're thinking. We know what the CNS and what the DNI, what they're likely thinking on the other end of the phone, so that we can sort of adapt to the typical DIS and C thought process. And then that's called mastery level. I mean, that's real mastery level with the universal script. And I'm not saying it's foolproof. Of course it isn't. But it sure does help because, two realtors can have the same lead, and one can get somewhere with that same lead and the other gets absolutely nowhere. And they both have completely different experiences with that exact same prospect. Even though the prospect is exactly the same, even though their timing and motivation hasn't changed, it doesn't shift from one to the other, but one has massive success with that prospect and the other one has none at all. That means that it all has to do with how we are communicating. So that's what we're working on here. That is the purpose of this universal script that Craig invented and developed and adapted, evolved over many, many, many years. So here's what we're going to do, as we always do on Thursdays, is we're going to take volunteers. And we're also going to take all of your follow-up related questions, your questions regarding the script, questions regarding anything that we began to discuss here to start the webinar here. But Andrea, I'm sure we've got some volunteers and some questions, so why don't we get started?
Yes, we do. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and type "I would like to role play" or your comment or question in the chat box, or click the hand icon you see on your control panel and we'll open your mic. Our first member is going to be Mario Daniel Sconza. Your line is open.
Good morning.
Hi Mario, how are you today?
Very well, how are you?
Excellent, excellent. What would you like to do today?
So you have responded to the 27 valuable seller tips, and
okay.
Here I am following up.
Okay, so now here's a question though. Did you run that as an editorial style ad in the local paper?
Let's say yes.
Well, where are you running it?
The 27 valuable seller tips, we're actually running it on Constant Contact. We've ran it to our farm.
Okay, so this is important because you've got to think, what did the prospect do to respond to this ad? What were they doing? And I want you to think about this for a second. If all they were doing was they were reading the local newspaper and they saw an editorial, an article about these costly home seller mistakes, they weren't actually looking for real estate information. They found it, but they weren't actually looking for it. Now, in the scenario that you're painting, though, you're sending through Constant Contact. How are you sending this information? Is it email?
Yes.
Okay, so the prospect had to open your email, which was about real estate, and they were reading about real estate in order to read your article about costly home seller mistakes. That's true, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, you got to think about it. What kind of person would be interested in reading about real estate information and then finding your offer and then reading about that? So this is important that we know before we even pick up the phone. We need to have the confidence to understand that this prospect has already demonstrated, simply by the fact that they found our ad, our offer, that there's clearly a motivation there. Some kind of motivation already exists before I even pick up the phone and call them. So this is really good. Okay, so ring, hello.
Thank you, James.
I'm sorry, who are you looking for?
James?
Yeah, this is James. Who's this?
This is Mario Daniel Sconza with BMAX, and the reason I'm calling is because I received your request for the 27 valuable seller tips information that you wanted. You actually clicked on to our Constant Contact email that we sent out to you. And I want you to know that we popped this brochure in the email to you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Are you folks planning on making a move in the next 3 to 6 months?
I doubt it.
Okay, if you were to move, would you be staying in the area or moving out of the area?
No, well, we would, yeah, we're not going anywhere. We'd stay here.
I see. And when do you think that might be?
Well, if we do something, it wouldn't be till next year, not until the new year.
James, do you have a realtor to help you when the time is right?
Yeah, we've got a couple realtors. We know of a couple realtors. No one in particular. I mean, we'd probably interview realtors, but yeah, no one in particular that we would choose as of right now.
I see. Now, would you prefer to buy before listing your home, James, or do you want to sell first?
We would probably look around. We'd probably look around at the same time, though. We'd want to make sure that we can maximize our dollars from our home. So I don't know. We'll cross that bridge, I guess, when we get more serious about it. But right now we're just kind of thinking about it. We're in the sort of initial stages.
That makes a lot of sense. Would you like a free market evaluation to determine what your home would sell for? Also, I can give you tips on what to do and what not to do to sell your home for the most amount of money. And we can go over all the various closing costs you will incur so you'll know exactly what you'll have left in your pocket after all expenses. It's a free service and obligates you to nothing. Does that sound helpful?
Sure.
When would be a good time to get together, James? Days or evenings?
Probably evenings.
Is tomorrow evening okay, say at 6 o'clock?
Tomorrow's Friday. No, tomorrow's not good. Can you make it Monday?
Yes, I can. Would 7 p.m. on Monday evening work well, or do you prefer a little bit earlier in the evening?
No, that's fine. That'll work.
Excellent.
Okay, so we booked the appointment. Okay, now here's why it was so easy in booking the appointment is because I'm not listing my home. Like, I'm not, you can book this appointment all you want, but when you come here, you're going to give me my evaluation, but I'm not listing my property. So if you come here and you sit down and you give me your listing presentation, here's the problem. I'm not listing my home until the new year, at least the new year. So once you've given me your listing presentation, this is the danger that Craig found. What the prospect is going to do now is check you off their list. So when February rolls around and they're ready to interview realtors, you know what they're going to say? I already interviewed Mario. Now I'm going to interview some other realtors. So this is very dangerous. Here's what I would have suggested, okay? You want to dive a little bit deeper into my motivation to find out what I'm doing. So you asked me the question, would I prefer to buy first or sell first? And I said, well, we'll probably look around. Okay, so what if you said this? What if you just asked one additional question and you said, have you started looking around? Like, I'm the one who volunteered to you. Yeah, we probably would rather look around and see what's out there. It begs the question, well, have you started doing that yet? And if I said to you, well, yeah, we're looking around. We've been to some open houses and we've been searching online. If I had said that, what offer would you have made me then?
If you had said that, then I would have made you the home hunter offer.
And that's what I would have said had you asked. Now, here's what I find, okay? This is, when you go back and you listen to this, our role play here, here's what you're going to find. You're in the new stages of using the universal script, and that's completely normal. But just understand is, to the prospect, okay, you're somebody who's reading into the phone line. All right, so we've got to get past that as quickly as we can. I'd rather you read it and say the right things than wing it and not get anywhere, not say anything that helps you in any way. But you've got to get by that really quickly. You're saying the same things every single time, so eventually you're going to get good at it. But the problem with doing that is, as I said at the beginning, you're not listening to the answers as well because your focus is on what you're going to say next. So when I say, well, we'd rather look around, if your focus was 100% on what I'm saying, the obvious question would have been, well, have you started doing that? Have you started looking around? Right? You say, you'd rather look around. When do you think it might be that you'll look around? Oh, well, we've already started looking around. Boom! Immediately your brain goes to, I'm going to make the home hunter offer. Right? So this is 100% normal, and the way that you're going through this learning curve is exactly the way you're supposed to. What I'm just pointing out is you need to be attuned to where you are in this process and where you're going to go next. Does that make sense, Mario?
It makes total sense, and you're right. I can definitely feel myself still being focused on the words, James. One question for you is that you mentioned the importance of knowing where the prospect is coming from. How would you have positioned the, let's say, the intro differently or anything differently?
Well, I wouldn't have mentioned constant contact because they don't know what constant contact is. Like, all we need to say is this. Hey, Mario, it's James calling with Craig Proctor's office at RE/MAX Omega. Mario, the reason I'm calling is because I received your request on my website for the 7 costly home seller mistakes free special report. I just wanted to give you a quick courtesy call and let you know I did prepare that and email it to you. I hope that's okay, Mario. I'm saying that you want to consider what the prospect did for your benefit, so that when you pick up the phone, you already know, okay, what did this guy do? This James guy that I'm calling. What has he done so far? And it gives you some insight into, okay, so did I respond to an editorial ad because I was just reading the local newspaper, or did I respond to a Google ad because I was doing a search for home values in my marketplace? That would be completely different. It would be good for you to know the level of motivation with the prospect before you even pick up the phone.
I see what you're saying there. So essentially introduce it, not necessarily what they saw, but what they asked for.
Right. What you're essentially saying to the prospect is without saying this, you're really saying this. Hey, don't try and tell me that you're not interested. Don't try and tell me that you're not motivated. I already know you are. I already know you are. You were looking for real estate information. You read ads. You responded. You gave your information. You requested detailed literature on the process. I know you're interested because of what you've done. Now, you're not saying any of that, but but very subtly, that is what you are suggesting in your introduction. Is the reason I'm calling is I got your request. You were on my website and you had requested information on, you know, inspection pitfalls or mistakes when you're selling your home. What you're doing is you're making it difficult, more difficult or more absurd for the prospect to say, yeah, I have no interest at all in selling my home. I just really like to know about mistakes that people make when they do sell their homes. But I'm not selling my home. It would be absurd, right? And so it becomes less likely that the prospect will do that if you've really done a good job of emphasizing that. Okay, good job, and thank you very much, Mario.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You're very welcome. All right, who's next, Andrea?
Our next guest is Ray Amandi. Your line is now open.
Hi, James.
Hello, Ray.
Yes, how are you today?
Excellent. How are you?
Great, thank you. Can we role play sellers that requested their home evaluation, please?
Yes, of course. Ring, ring. Hello.
Hi, good morning. I'm looking for James.
Yeah, this is James.
Good morning, James. My name is Ray Amadi with Remax Premier, and the reason I'm calling is because you had requested a home evaluation on 123 Main Street, and as a courtesy, I'm calling you to let you know we've already sent you that information. Is that okay?
Yeah, I don't know if I got that or not. How did you email that to me or?
That was mailed to you, so you should be getting it today or tomorrow.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, no, great, thank you.
Wonderful. James, are you planning on making actually a move in the next 3 to 6 months?
Maybe. We're looking around and we're thinking about it. Yeah, it depends on what we can find and a couple other things as well.
Gotcha. And if you were to move, are you planning to stay in the area or move out of the area?
No, we're staying in the area.
Staying in the area. And when do you think would that be?
You mean if we were to make a move?
That's right.
We would do. I mean, if we're going to do it, we'll certainly do it. Probably sometime in the new year, I guess. Like you said, 3 to 6 months. If we're going to do it, we'll do something in the next 3 to 6 months, I guess.
Good. Makes sense. And may I ask you if you're working with a real estate agent at this moment to help you out?
We are. We've got a realtor who we met at an open house. Who's been sending us property, and they've showed us a couple of properties as well. So I mean, nothing serious, but they are helping us.
They're helping you. And James, are you 100% committed to that agent to buy a house with them?
No. I mean, if they do a good job and they find us the right property when we're ready, I guess, we would use them. But no, we're not 100% committed.
Okay, no problem. And you requested a home evaluation on your home. May I ask you, would you prefer James would like to sell your home first, or is it important to find your next home first?
Well, we definitely want to find it, but we're concerned. Obviously it'll depend to a degree on what we could sell our home for. So, the two are going to go hand in hand.
Absolutely. It has to go hand in hand because you're going to buy and sell. May I ask you another question? Would you like to buy your home first or put a sign in front of your yard to list it on the market? Which one do you think would be the first one?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I mean, if we saw something that was absolutely perfect right now, we could make an offer on the property, but what the realtor that we've been working with right now tells us is that it wouldn't be a very strong offer because it would be contingent on us selling our home, so that wouldn't be good. So I don't know. We're a little confused about that right now.
And I totally hear that frustration in your voice, James. No problem. We have a program that would definitely suit you. James, may I ask you, would you like me to email you daily updates of all the homes that match your home buying criteria from all real estate companies? Our list includes any bank foreclosures, company-owned properties, and even properties that are not on the market. And of course, it's a free of service, and you're never obligated to buy a home. Would that interest you?
Yeah.
Excellent,
yeah, sure.
Wonderful. When can we get together for about 10-15 minutes so you can take down exactly what you're looking for?
You know what? I could probably tell you right now if you got time.
Oh, absolutely, we could do it. And at the same time, James, rather than me emailing you hundreds of homes that may or may not match your home buying criteria, or more importantly, risk on the missing out the perfect home, we can meet for about 20 minutes and I'll take down exactly what you're looking for. I have an online form that we fill out. That way we know exactly what you're looking for. So would days or evenings be better for you?
Probably evenings.
Evenings, wonderful. So today around 6 or tomorrow around 7 would be suitable for you?
I might be able to make today work. Yeah, I think today at 6 will work.
Great. I look forward to seeing you today at 6. And if you got any questions, give me a call, okay?
Okay. So where am I going, or what's happening at 6?
At 6, we're going to meet at my office at 1234 Main Street. Is that okay?
Okay. Sure.
Good, James. And I will send all information to you.
Okay, so let me just ask you a couple questions here, Ray. Why did you elect to have me meet at your office and make the buyer offer?
Because they will be.
Why was that your choice?
They will. Well, first of all, I missed that, and then you mentioned I would choose them to be in my office because they would be on our territory instead of having them at their house. So there is
But didn't I initially ask for an online home evaluation?
You did.
And I also said that what we get for our property is going to be pivotal in determining what we buy. So you're going to sit down with me and you're going to determine properties that you're going to send me without knowing what I can really buy. All of this could be way easier. When you have a prospect like this, okay, here's what we've got. We've got a local buyer with a home to sell, a local home to sell, right, which is like the best opportunity. Because what it means is you can make both offers at the same time. And you could really position it. You know that I requested the online home evaluation. So what if you said this? Hey, Ray, if I can take a look at your property, I can be much more accurate in determining the likely sales price of your property. We can go over inexpensive tips, things that you can do to maximize the dollars from your home. We can go over a net sheet so you'll know what you can expect to have in your pocket. But what I was thinking as well is I can take down exactly what you're looking for in a property so that I can email you every day all of those properties as they come on the market, especially the hard-to-find deals, the bank foreclosures, company-owned, distressed sales, vacant properties, private listings, probates, other great deals that come on the market that match what you're looking for. If I know accurately what you're looking for, I can set you up to receive those properties the second they come on the market. Now, the whole thing is free. There's no obligation for you to do anything, and I'm flexible. When would be a good time for me to drop by and take a look at your property and set you up on the daily emails? Would you prefer something during the day, something in the evening, this weekend perhaps? What would be most convenient to you, Ray?
Yeah, we can meet this evening.
But do you see how, like, I know that both offers are going to be appealing to you. So, hey, I might as well knock myself out and make both offers. I know that the likeliness is this. When I get face-to-face with you, what I'm likely going to do is I'm going to focus on the buyer presentation and getting you signed to a buyer contract. Because I know you're likely not ready to list your home today. Mm-hmm. But if I can procure you as my client, then the likeliness of me getting your listing are good.
That sounds great. Combining both offers, I've never heard that before, so thank you for that.
That makes perfect sense. In this scenario, it makes perfect sense to combine. Can I tell you why it's also a good idea to do that? Because it takes away the objection of, well, can't I just tell you over the phone what I'm looking for?
That's right.
Because you know you have to come to their home in order to give them a more accurate evaluation. So the reason we're meeting is because I'm going to look around at your property. I'm going to give you an accurate evaluation, and I'm going to point out helpful tips. And hey, Ray, I got a great idea. While I'm there, I can take down your criteria of what you're looking for, and I can set you up on my daily email search so that as soon as the property comes on the market that matches what you're looking for, boom, it'll be sitting in your email inbox. It's free, there's no obligation, and we can take 10 minutes and go over your criteria in detail at that time. There's no cost, no obligation. What would be a good time to do all this for me to drop by? It's a no-brainer.
Great. This is great, especially the buyers that want to sell and buy. Making this kind of offer would make very sense.
That's why, remember this. When you get a buyer prospect,
yep,
and you determine that they own their home, immediately your brain is going to say, even if I make the buyer offer, I'm going to make it at their home, and I'm going to offer them an evaluation. You're not giving them the listing presentation necessarily, but you're going to offer to meet at their home. Why? Because everybody who is going to be selling their home would like to know, number one, the value, and number two, how they can make it worth more money. And that's exactly why you're dropping by.
Great. And I was not sure which offer to make, and I asked you additional question. Would you like to put an offer first or put a sign first?
Right, and that's good. I mean, that's an example of listening. Okay, so you're at that second stage in your sort of perfecting the universal callback script, where you're actually listening to what I'm saying, so that you need to clarify. Right, you can become much more conversational, and you can clarify. If it sounds like I really don't understand what you're saying, you're listening well enough that you can say, okay, here's what I really mean. Would you prefer, to write an offer on a property, to make an offer on a property that you see before there's a for sale sign in your lawn? Like, that's the kind of thing where you need to reach a certain point with your, with the universal script before you're able to do that, and you've clearly reached that point. So that's great.
Great. Thank you, James.
You're very welcome. Thanks, Ray.
Okay, Sarah Roy has a question regarding this, so I'm going to go ahead and ask her chat question. She says, so you're saying, do the buyer presentation and give them a value on their home without the listing presentation?
Well, I mean, if it is apparent that they're not going to be listing their property for sale, you definitely do not want to give them the listing presentation. Okay? And the reason you don't want to give them the listing presentation is because if they're not going to list their property at the conclusion of the listing presentation, it means when they are ready to list their home, they may not want to hear your listing presentation again because they've already heard it, right? So, and Craig found this too frequently, and that's why he always wanted to make sure that what is the reason for this appointment? Is it to give them the evaluation? Or is it to give them the listing presentation? There's a difference, right? If you know that they're buying and they're buying locally, and you've booked the appointment, the seller appointment in their home, you can go and you can give them an evaluation of their property. You can point out all the helpful tips, as I'm sure you would normally do. But when you sit down at their kitchen table, you're not going to take them through the listing presentation. You're going to focus on what they're looking for. They're not in a position to sell their home this evening, to put it on the market this evening, but they are in a position where they're looking around at what is available and what they might like. So you're going to sit down with them and you're going to go through all of their criteria, and you're going to get them set up on your home hunter service. And in doing so, you're going to compel them to hire you as their representative. Now, the reason you want to do it that way is because when it comes time to list their property for sale, they're already working with you. Now we can give them the listing presentation, whether that's a month, 2 months, or 6 months down the road, and they're hearing your listing presentation for the very first time, but you've got a massive head start because you've already been working with them as their buyer representative. Hope that helps.
Okay, our next role play request comes from Helen Andrade Stevens. Your line is open.
Hello, Helen.
Good morning.
Helen, we've got some mic issues here, Andrea, I think.
We do. There are 2 lines connected to Helen. Helen, go ahead and say hello one more time.
Hello?
James, is that any better? No, it's
No.
not. Okay, we'll have to move on. Helen, I know you said you called it on the phone, but you're still connected through mic and speakers, so you may need to check the telephone connection, and we'll try again later. We have another chat question from Donnelly says, would it also help them if you introduce the USP for home sale guarantee, or should we hold that back until they are ready for the listing presentation?
Well, there's a difference between sharing with them, a unique selling proposition and giving them the listing presentation. Remember, taking them through the entire listing presentation, you're only doing that because at the conclusion of the listing presentation, you're going to get the listing. But if you know that that's not happening, they're not listing their home for sale, they're clearly, certainly not in a position where they're going to put their home on the market, now, then giving them, sharing with them one of your performance guarantees is fine. That's not the same as giving them the listing presentation. Okay, so I'll make that distinction.
Okay, our next request to role play comes from Dharmendra. Your mic is now open.
Hello.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm good, James. How are you?
Excellent. What would you like to do today?
I would like you to be a buyer on my advertisement about, save $5,000.
All right. So you, where are you running that? Where are you running that offer?
I did it right now in the Scarborough area.
Okay, but I mean more. What medium would I?
So this one is basically in the rental buildings through the postcards.
Okay, so it's direct mailed. Okay, that's good.
Yes, direct mail. Yes.
Okay, so let's do it. So you're calling me back because I responded to this information. So ring.
Right. Well, hi. May I speak to James, please?
Yeah, this is James.
Well, hi, James. This is Dharmendra from Remax calling, and the reason I'm calling is I have received your request regarding the information of our buyer programs, and I prepared this and mailed to you. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm not sure what information you're talking about. Sorry.
Well, one of the, you have requested regarding the buyers, saving $5,000 on their purchase of the home.
Okay, yeah, right. Okay.
So, James, are you guys planning on making a move in the next 3 or 6 months?
We're looking around.
Oh, you're looking around, okay. And James, are you currently renting or do you have your own home?
No, we're renting right now. You're
renting that. And are you planning to stay on the same area or you are thinking of moving to a different neighborhood?
We're staying in Scarborough area, but we're open to as long as it's pretty close to the 401, we're open to different neighborhoods, different areas. Yeah, we're just looking around and seeing what we can find.
Okay, and are you and if you were to move, James, when do you think that might be?
Well, we're looking right now. So I don't know. I guess when we find the right property.
Okay, and did you have a realtor to help you when the time is right, or when you get the right property?
No, we haven't talked to any realtors.
You haven't talked to any realtors, okay. Would you like me, James, to email you some of these daily email updates about the homes that match your home buying criteria? That includes bank foreclosures, company-owned properties, distress sales, and some of these properties that are not yet out in the market. By the way, it's a free service. There is no obligation at all. Would that be of interest to you, James?
Yeah. So I'm going online. I look online, and I find properties online all the time. So I don't know if this is necessary, but.
Well, James, I don't know what websites and what kind of properties that you are looking into, but our properties that I email it to you, that includes, other than the regular properties, bank foreclosures, distress sales, and some of these properties that are not yet in the market. So would that be of interest to you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And James, when can we get together for about 15 to 20 minutes so that I can take down exactly what you are looking into, and based on that, I'll be able to get you that kind of properties. Is weekdays is better for you or weekend?
I don't know. I don't think we're ready for that just yet. I don't know. I don't think we're ready to meet with a realtor just yet. We're just really new and we're just early in the process. So we just really would prefer to look around right now.
James, our meeting certainly it's free and there is no obligation for you to buy anything. When I meet you, James, I would like to understand what you are looking for, exactly what kind of property, what areas, so that I'll be able to email you those properties that meet your criteria and not missing out something that is really interest to you and sending you hundreds of properties, hundreds of emails, every day. So is today evening works better for you or tomorrow?
I'll need to speak to my wife about it. But if my wife is okay with it, then I guess we could probably meet this evening.
This evening? Well, let's just do one thing. We can schedule an appointment today evening at around 6 o'clock. And and certainly you can speak to your wife. And if there's any change, you let me know. If everything is okay, then we will be scheduled as our time 6 o'clock today evening.
Okay. Okay. That's fine.
Well, thank you very much, James, and I will see you at 6 o'clock. Now, you can write down my office address. This is, 1055 McNichol Avenue, and we will meet 6 o'clock.
Okay, perfect.
And
all right,
if
so
you have any questions, give me a call back.
Okay, now, a couple things. First of all, when the prospect is a little, I don't know, skeptical maybe is the wrong word, but clearly they're uneasy about this.
Okay.
You did the right thing, which is you've got to emphasize cost and obligation.
Right.
All right. So maybe, and this is what I always found comfort. I like saying this. I like saying, hey, James, don't bring your wallet or checkbook. Okay. I really want to make this clear. This is an absolutely free service. The reason that we're meeting is because I want to have the same great understanding that you and your wife have as to what you're looking for. There isn't any cost to it, though. I won't obligate you to buy anything. I won't charge you any money. But in order to do a really good job, we do need to sit down together and go over your criteria so I understand it as well as you. Now, here's the key words. Are you certain you wouldn't reconsider a brief free appointment at your convenience?
Okay.
Right? Like when you put it that way, the prospect is far more likely to say, okay, well, yeah, I mean, that is what they're afraid of, right? The reason that they're putting you off is they're fearful, especially if they're first-time buyers, okay? They've never been through the process before, so that's something that you really want to consider. So I thought you handled that well, but you could handle it even better. Okay, now here's the next thing, is when you have a first-time buyer like this, what you might want to do is you might want to determine, once you've set the appointment, you might want to ask me what my qualifications are. In other words, you might want to say this. By the way, have you been pre-qualified? Have you gone to your bank or lending institution in terms of to talk about financing for your property? That would be a good question to ask, right?
Right. Yeah.
All right. So I might say, well, yes, I have. Okay, that's great. Well, you could bring that information with you. And if I said, no, I haven't done that yet, then you might want to ask some additional questions. You might want to say, well, do you have a cash down payment, saved? And I say, yes, we do. We have a substantial down payment available of, whatever. We've got $35,000 saved up, and we can, get more when we're ready to buy. So you would keep that appointment, in other words. You would not get rid of that appointment. You would keep it based on that. But we book the appointment first, then you can ask the first-time buyer some of those qualifying questions just to see where they stand. Because if they sound like they're not going to qualify, well, then you might want to send them to your lender first before making the appointment.
Right.
Okay?
Now, on this line, James, I have a question. A few days back, one of the leads that I got, I talked to them on phone, and they were looking for a particular property that they highlighted. and I discussed and called them at my office. So they came by. However, before coming by, they again text me regarding this property to see this property. So they came to my office. We discussed. I was trying to sign them up with our buyer representation agreement. Not successful. But then at the same time after that, I showed them the property. So how would I follow up now?
Well, and this is exactly Craig's point. Exactly Craig's point is what you've demonstrated to them is that you're willing to work on their behalf without them committing in any way to you. And once you've demonstrated that once, you can never go back. All that's going to happen is they're going to say, I'll call you when we see a property we like and we'll get you to come and show it to us. Whereupon we won't buy it and you'll never see us again. Like, here's what we've got to, here's what has to be clear. If the prospect is motivated enough that they would come and meet with you, what you have to figure out is, why is it that they declined to hire you? Like, we need to be able to say, look, I represent those who hire me. I represent clients. I would love to show you this property, but I need to represent you in order for me to show you this property. Now, there is no cost to my representation. You're never obligated to buy anything. And I'm going to further that. I'm going to give you a cancellation guarantee. If I represent you and you don't think I'm doing a good job, then you can fire me. Without any consequence, you can fire me. But the way that you're going to get someone to work on your behalf to find you the best property and negotiate the best deal for you is they have to represent you. And the only way they can represent you is they must hire you. So there is no downside to you. The only thing I ask for all of my representation is for your loyalty. But even then, if I don't exceed your expectations, here's my cancellation guarantee. If they say, no, I don't want to be loyal to you, I don't want to hire you, I just want you to show us properties that we want to see. The answer is, I'm sorry, I can't do that, because doing that would be at the cost of working with my clients. I mean, honestly, okay, so first of all, we'll just base it on what happened. You went and you showed them that property. Are they interested in buying that property?
Well, I showed them after I sat down and discussed everything in my office. But because they've insisted 2 to 3 times before, we met at the office, that they certainly would like to look at this property, So I did that, but after discussing everything, however, when I gone through the buyer presentation, after that they says they are not ready to sign the agreement right now.
Okay, well, here's a cancellation guarantee. What this says is
that part actually I did not use, so that is certainly a mistake which I can certainly.
Because the cancellation guarantee takes away that objection. So their objection is, we're not ready to sign anything. And you can suggest, well, you'd like to think about it? They say yes. So you say this, okay, well, here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about this tonight. I also want you to think about it tomorrow. As a matter of fact, I want you to think about this every day, knowing that if at any time you think about it, you think you've made a mistake in hiring me, you can cancel our agreement. But in order for me to show you this property and to share with you other great properties that come available, I need you to hire me, but I'm going to offer you this cancellation guarantee. This is for your peace of mind. It says that at any time, for any reason, you don't feel I'm doing a good job or you want to cancel our agreement, you can do that.
Okay.
And now if they say this, well, see, what if they said this? Well, here's the truth. Our nephew just got their real estate license and we're going to buy our property through them. What would you say to them? You'd say, get the heck out of my office, is what you'd say, right? Like, so what you're asking me is, you want my expertise and you want me to do the work, even though you have no plan at all on rewarding me for the service that I provide in any way. You have no intentions. Well, I don't work with people like that. There are enough people There are enough leads that we can generate where we can cherry pick the good ones, that we don't need to be in a position where we have to work with somebody that isn't reasonable.
Right.
So you need to be a little bit more firm on that. And I'm not saying there aren't going to be exceptions, but we need to work with reasonable people. If we offer a cancellation guarantee without any strings attached and they still decline, I just want you to ask yourself, what are they really saying to you? What they're saying is this: I'm never going to use you. Would you rather find that out in 15 minutes up front, or would you rather spend all weekend, instead of being with your family, you spend all weekend with a person that looked you in the eyes and said, I'm never going to buy a home from you, but I will let you spend all weekend showing me properties. Happily, I'll let you do that, but I am not going to ever buy a home through you. No matter how reasonable you are, I'm never going to use you. It's like we've got to, at some point, we have to draw a line in the sand and say, okay, the only reason that we would do that, the only reason that we compromise ourselves and roll the dice and work with a person like that would only be if we didn't have any other choice. So the idea that is to make sure that we're generating enough leads every day that when somebody comes along like that, we don't have to feel like we're in a position to suck it up and have to spend all weekend with somebody that has told us we're never going to commit to you, ever. Not going to happen. We need to be able to say, well, look, spending time with you is at the cost of the next one and the next one and the next one. So you know what? Have a great day. Thank you very much. I represent clients. That's the business that we're in. We represent clients. The only way that somebody can become a client, they've got to hire you, even though it's free. But if you went to a listing appointment and the seller said, look, we're not ready to list with you tonight, but we really do want you to market our property. We want you to run ads. We want you to promote it. We want you to, do all of the work to promote the property, but we're not ready to sign the listing. See, your brain would tell you, your paradigm is, well, I would never agree to do that. But that's exactly what we do with buyers. So this is a product of two things. One, getting better at the buyer presentation, and when we need to, offering the cancellation guarantee in the meantime. And it also is a product of lead generation. The more leads you generate, the more confidence you have to be able to say no when you need to say no.
Right.
I really appreciate you volunteering here today. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Thanks, Sam.
All right, who's next, Andrea?
Helen was able to dial in on the telephone.
We have chat questions. Let's finish up with taking all of the questions that we have in the chat first.
Okay. Mitzi asks, doesn't the cancellation guarantee also increase the likelihood of them seeing a home, an open house, or other with another agent and just sending you notice that they are canceling the agreement and buying with the other agent? She says she guesses her question is, does a buyer representation without a cancellation agreement really give you anything more than no agreement or a customer service agreement?
Well, the question I always ask you is this: do your buyers do that to you? Do the buyers that you work with, do they often fire you because they're dissatisfied with the service you provide them? Do they often end up buying a property through somebody else? And if the answer is yes, well then your problem isn't offering a cancellation guarantee. Your problem is that whatever it is that we're offering to the buyers, whatever service we're providing to the buyers, clearly isn't sufficient. Because what most of you would say to that question is no. When I have a chance to demonstrate to my buyer my competence, my knowledge, they love me, and I do a great job for them, and they don't want to fire me, and they don't buy properties anywhere else. That's normal. And if that's the case, then offering a cancellation guarantee is all it does is it demonstrates peace of mind for the prospect, because at that point when they're meeting you for the first time, they don't know you. They don't know any of this yet. They don't know how competent you are. They don't know how knowledgeable you are yet. They don't know you. But once they start working with you and they understand the level of service that you will provide to a client who has hired you, once they have the opportunity to see that, they are not going to take you up on your cancellation guarantee. Right? So that's the benefit of doing it that way. What you've always got to weigh is this. It's always, what is the alternative? Okay, it's not perfect, The alternative isn't perfect. The alternative is the alternative. So if we don't offer the cancellation guarantee and they do not hire us, they do not sign our buyer contract, that's the alternative to offering the cancellation guarantee, and maybe one day somebody actually takes you up on the cancellation guarantee and they buy a home through someone else. So you got to weigh those two. But I'll tell you, if the alternative to using the cancellation guarantee is you don't get them to sign the buyer contract, that means that they have not hired you. It means the likeliness of them buying a property without you are huge. If they've hired you, but they have a cancellation guarantee, you'd have to agree that the odds of them not buying a home through you are much, much less. So that's what we're working on here. Now, here's what's going to happen, by the way. Let me just share this with everybody. And many of you on this, I've already discovered this, is you'll find that the cancellation guarantee in the beginning when you're first doing the buyer presentation is a crutch. In other words, it's kind of like it's our safety net that we know we have that we can offer the prospect to make sure that this becomes a no-brainer. There is no downside now to the buyer signing the buyer agency agreement, the VIP buyer agreement. No downside at all now. But what you're going to find is you'll get better and better and better and better at giving the presentation, and then you're going to experiment with not offering the cancellation guarantee. And can I tell you what you're going to find? You don't need it. You don't need it. You'll find that once you become really good at giving the presentation stands on its own merit. And offering the cancellation guarantee is not a necessity in articulating the value of working exclusively with you and all the benefits that come with that. But then the question has to be asked is, well, is the reason I'm not offering the cancellation guarantee because I don't need to, or is it because they take me up on it? And if you conclude, well, look, my buyers never ever take me up on my cancellation, they never cancel, then why would you take it out? There is no need to take it out. All it does is it demonstrates confidence in you. Only someone with extreme confidence in their ability, in their knowledge, in their competence, only somebody with that confidence would ever offer such a cancellation guarantee. So that's kind of where we're at right now with this. But the better you understand that, the better everything will be. All right, next question, Andrea.
Okay, this question is from Adele. When they are not ready at all at the moment, do we ask if we can follow up in the future after we offer the newsletter or before?
Before. So here's what you want to say. Andrea, would it be okay if I followed up with you by sending you my monthly newsletter? It's full of great market information as well as helpful tips. It's absolutely free. There's no obligation at all, but it'll provide you with some great helpful information. Would you like to receive that for free every month? Andrea says, sure. I then say, and Andrea, when would be a good time for me to follow up with you when you might be a little closer to making your move? And I shut up. And I let her tell me. Now, the worst case scenario, she says, never, I don't have any plans. Okay, great. Have a nice day. Or she says, well, why don't you give me a call sometime in the new year, maybe in the spring. So we set a call back for sometime in February. Right? That's all. But don't you tell them when you're going to call back. Ask them. So remember, the only reason why they would accept information would, if they had absolutely zero plans of moving, why would you want real estate information? Why would you want great tips on preparing for a move if you're not thinking about a move? So if they say, yes, I'd like to get that for free every month, that'd be great. Thank you. Then we say, and when would be a good time for me to follow up with you when you're a little closer to making your move? And just shut up and hear what they say. If they say, call me next summer, then, okay, well, that's good to know. Put that in the notes and call them back, obviously prior to that. But you always want them to tell you the best time to follow up. All right, good question. Next.
Okay, this question from Nick and Joe says, how do you get a buyer to pay a fee up front when we are telling them that it's free and no obligation?
Because sending them the properties is free. Well, first of all, don't think that in the beginning this is anything that you have to do. You're going to graduate to that point where you can offer an upfront retainer fee. Okay, but there's a difference. What you're offering is to email them properties that have come on the market every day from all the different real estate companies, and that service is absolutely free. They're not paying anything for that service. However, What they are going to pay a retainer fee for, okay, when you get to this point where you are charging an upfront fee, that retainer fee is for your representation to purchase a property. Okay, that is your fee that you charge for representing them in the purchase of a property. Okay, you don't get paid a commission. The seller, you will get paid by the seller. But your retainer fee for negotiating on their behalf and representing them, you charge a retainer fee of $395, whatever it is. But don't start there. Here's how this has to work. You've got to get so good at giving the buyer presentation that virtually 100% of the buyers you meet with all hire you by signing your buyer agreement. Okay, once you get to that point where you're batting 1,000 and you can get anybody to sign your buyer agreement, then you make it a little bit more challenging. Then you introduce the idea of your retainer fee, and you start with a small retainer fee. Okay, it's $199, and you make it, you make it refundable on close. Like whatever you need to do in the beginning, it's baby steps, right? So in the beginning, make it real easy for them. Make it sound very reasonable. And as you get better and better and better at that, we've got students in our system that charge a $500 upfront retainer fee. Write a check right now for $495. But they didn't start there. It took them a while to get to evolve to that spot where they're so good with the presentation. They present so much value and confidence to the prospect. They back it up with unique selling propositions like, here's my guarantee. I'm going to save you $5,000 on your home purchase, or I'll give you $1,000 at closing. Forget about your $495 retainer fee. I will give you $1,000 at closing, and I will pay you that if I don't save you X number of dollars on the purchase price of your property. So when you have a presentation like that, it makes asking for the upfront fee a whole lot easier. But again, don't anybody think that you start with that. You're going to graduate to that point as you get better and better with your presentation. Great question.
Okay, our next question. I noticed that a lot of investors are not willing to sign the buyer's agreement because they are only looking for the agent that gives them the best deal. How should I deal with this?
Well, I mean, I would even argue that they'll get a better deal working exclusively with one realtor. And if you look at the most successful investors, they generally partner with one agent. They have one broker that helps them in finding their investment properties because they're invested in those opportunities. I mean, this is very simple. Your job, you've got to sit down with them. So number one, we've got to be able to articulate the benefits of sitting down with you. All right? And if you're an investor, it means that the only way that you're going to make money is by finding the best deals. You can't just go out and buy the properties that all the other buyers are looking at. You can't be in a bidding war on a family property that mainstream buyers are buying. You need to find the very best deals in the marketplace that are going to represent the best investment opportunities. You need to know about them first. So we sit down for 15 or 20 minutes. I want to determine what you're looking for in your investment opportunities. That way, when those deals come on the market, I can be attuned to those and I can immediately make sure they're sitting in your email inbox immediately. I'm going to know about them before you are. That's for sure. So when you've got 15 minutes, sit down together and go over your criteria. There's no cost. I'm not obligating you to buy anything. When's good? Okay. A serious investor would say yes to that. Okay. A non-serious investor, a wannabe investor, would say no to that. Good. We don't want them to say yes. But here's the deal when you sit down with them. If you know what the investor is looking for, is it reasonable that you're going to know about the best investment opportunities before they are? That's totally reasonable. Well, here's the thing. You're asking me to work for you and find the very, very best properties and keep attuned to all of the great investment opportunities that match what you're looking for in terms of dollar and cents and return on investment, et cetera. But in return, you're not willing to commit in any way to working with me. Well, you wouldn't do that, and I can't do that either. However, what I can do is suggest this. If at any point in time you don't feel I'm doing an awesome job in finding you the best properties, fire me. Since they would anyway, even if they signed the buyer contract, they'd fire you anyway if they didn't think you were doing a great job. So there is no downside in offering the cancellation guarantee, or making them or offering them a performance guarantee. I will find you an investment opportunity and I'll save you this much off the purchase price. I guarantee that, or X. But I would argue that because what an investor is looking for is so specific, they arguably need you even more than any other buyer would. They would benefit from you being attuned to all of the investment opportunities far more so than anyone else would. But again, I go back to, when you look at the most successful property investors, they very often work with an exclusive representative. They work with they don't have every realtor. See, here's the thing. When you have every realtor helping you, you really have nobody helping you because everybody's hedging their bets. I'm not going to invest my time in this person who's also working with every other realtor because I know that very likely the odds are against me getting this deal because they're working with every other realtor. So screw them. I'm not going to work hard for somebody that isn't committed to working with me. And that's just how it goes. Whereas the smartest investors know that when they have a realtor working exclusively for them and an investor means more than one deal, that realtor is going to work even harder for that investor. But that has to be demonstrated. So, that is the point. That is the purpose of the presentation. And you need to customize your presentation specifically for the benefit to that investor, in terms of the importance of knowing these investment opportunities immediately upon these properties being available. And available doesn't necessarily mean on MLS. Available means available. That's the benefit. Okay, let's take another one, Andrea.
Okay, this is from Lewis. What would be the proper response to a lead that asked for a list of distressed homes, but upon calling them, they reply they did not expect or want solicitation?
Okay, so this is good. Remember, you're not calling them because you want something. You're calling them because they wanted something from you. So should the prospect misunderstand, you simply repeat again. Andrea, again, the reason I'm calling is because you had requested information from me, and I'm merely calling you as a courtesy to let you know that I did prepare and email you the information that you asked for on my website last night. I hope that's okay, Andrea. Now, if the prospect, upon your explanation that this is a courtesy call because they asked you for information and you're calling essentially to make sure they got it, if they are rude to you after having explained that, you don't want to work with them. But I'll tell you, if you've done a good job of articulating your reason for calling them, they won't be rude to you. It would be the very rare exception. Remember, they did ask you for information. You're not soliciting them. I'm not calling to ask you for something. I'm calling because you asked me for something. Is that true? Yes or no? 100%. They asked you for information. I'm calling you because you asked me for distressed sale properties in the area. And I'm calling as a courtesy to let you know, not only did I get your request, but I did prepare those properties and I emailed them to you. I hope that's okay. Yeah, of course it's okay. I asked for it, didn't I? Right. That's the way, that's how we want to position this. The better you get at articulating your reason for calling, the more seldom it will be that a prospect objects to your call. You'll see that yourself. The better you get at explaining why you're calling, it makes it very difficult for the prospect to say anything other than thank you. Okay, let's take one more, Andrea, before we wrap it up for today.
Well, we have quite a few questions about the actual presentation. Is that something you would like to get into on our role play session, or do you want to stick to?
Yeah, remember this, okay? As far as the presentation goes, the only way that we're going to give a presentation is if we get face-to-face. So we have to understand that the skill involved in booking the face-to-face appointment in the first place is different than the skill involved in the face-to-face appointment itself and compelling the prospect to hire you. They're two completely different things. So if, you know what's funny, most of you on the webinar here today, if I were to ask you, if you got face-to-face more often with more worthy prospects, if we stop there, just you got face-to-face far more often with more good quality prospects, would that alone have a huge impact on your on the outcome of your real estate business? Overwhelmingly, you would say yes to that, even without any discussion of what would happen at that presentation, buyer or listing presentation. With no discussion of that, just getting more at-bats would cause you to make a quantum leap in your business. So let's talk about that first. Then we'll talk about, okay, but how do I improve even further, not just the contracts that we get signed, but the terms and conditions of those contracts. If we're going to take listings, are they under our terms? Are we getting paid what we're worth? If we're working with buyers, are we negotiating what we're going to get paid from the seller? Right? So we can get better at those presentations, but honestly, the reason why we do these webinars every Thursday is to focus on getting the appointment, getting those at-bats. Because if we have a great presentation, but we don't have an opportunity to give the presentation, nothing changes. Just like if we talk about the universal callback script, but you have no leads to use it with, that's kind of useless too. So tomorrow, as we do every Friday, we're going to focus exclusively on lead generation. The only way we can use this universal callback script is if we have prospects to use it with. And the only way we're going to have prospects is if our marketing is effective. So everything moves in an order here. Why don't we do this? On Monday, on our helpline session, it's not the internet helpline session this Monday, is it, Andrea?
It is every second Monday, so that will be on the 9th. On the 9th will be the internet helpline. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, let me say this. On the Monday helpline session, we will work on the buyer presentation, and that's why I say every Monday, Craig and I say this, it's a free-for-all. We can discuss anything you want. So I would suggest that if we want to really dive into the buyer presentation and you've got questions about that and you know, areas of discussion, then Monday mornings is the perfect time for us to focus exclusively on that. Write that down. Make sure you email it or enter that in the chat, and I assure you that we can go into great depth on that subject.
Well, something else, James, that we want to mention too is any questions we don't get to, please be emailing your one-on-one coach. That's what they're there for. So these presentation questions that I'm seeing of not wanting to sign the agreements and things like that is definitely something your coach can help you with.
Yeah, absolutely it is. I want to remind everybody, yeah, tomorrow is the ad clinic session. So do make sure you upload any ads that you'd like us to take a look at. But we will take all of your lead generation related questions on tomorrow's ad clinic session. So I really look forward to hearing from everybody there. Until then, though, Andrea, thanks so much for your help, and thanks to everybody for being here today, and especially to those who volunteered to do role playing, etc.
Thank you, James. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Talk to you all in tomorrow's marketing clinic.